So I'm just hanging out and reading breaking news articles and listening to music. If you guys have any news, you can send it to the email on your screen. You can put it in the comments below. There's a chat running too, and you can also call in live. And the number is 1408-638-0968, and enter the meeting ID number 534-233-4758. And you can call in and talk in live there as well. So I'm just going to read news articles, and the chat will play. I'm streaming it right now on my personal Facebook page, DLive, Twitch, and YouTube under the Kingsman Report. So I don't know how long I'll be streaming. I'm just gonna hang out here, find breaking news, and listen to music.
Trying hard, but you wanna be my friend. Ain't no place to hide, ain't no one to run to. Here we go again. Call my bluff, I'ma be here till the end. I'm the one you ride, I'm the one you ride to. If you don't wanna change, ain't no place to hide, ain't no one to run to. If you don't wanna change, I can help you out. I can help you out. I can help you out. I can help you
So this news article says flu season is picking up, particularly in the South and the West, CDC says. I don't get a flu shot, never had the flu. Says flu activity is picking up across the country, indicating an earlier start to this year's flu season, particularly in the South and in the West, according to the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention. The uptick doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a bad season. Flu is notoriously unpredictable, but some clues from earlier this year point to a potentially harsh season. The flu seasons in Australia, which can be a sign of what is to come in the Northern Hemisphere, arrived early with a vengeance. Friday, the CDC reported widespread flu in 5 states, including Alabama, California, Louisiana, Nevada, and South Carolina. This time last year, no state showed widespread activity. In addition, high levels of flu were reported in 7 states: Alabama, Arkansas, Georgia, Mississippi, Nevada, South Carolina, and Texas, plus Puerto Rico. Last year, only 1 state reported high levels of flu this time. It says nationally, flu activity was above the national baseline for the first time this season. Flu activity is measured by looking at the percentage of visits to the doctor's office for flu-like illness. This week, 2.5% of visits were flu-like illnesses, surpassing the baseline of 2.4%, and 4 children have died so far this season from flu-like illnesses, the CDC reports. So if you guys want to read more on that, I posted it in the comments, and you guys can check that out there. And everybody's reporting, in case you guys missed it. Justice Ginsburg was taken to the hospital again, so So this article says a woman sues Christian college after they expelled her for being in a same-sex marriage. It says students are informed of and explicitly agree to abide by, quote, the school's Christian standard, the Fuller Theological Seminary said. So a woman who married another woman after she was accepted to California's Theological College was expelled, and now she's suing for alleged discrimination. Plaintiff Joan Maxon of Fort Worth, Texas, said she was kicked out of Fuller Theological Seminary last year, where she was studying for a Master of Arts in Theology. I was approaching the end and looking forward to graduation and all that stuff. The 53-year-old said, to have that taken away unexpectedly, I was a really good student. I was devastated by it. At the time she was expelled, she was in the middle of taking 2 classes and need an additional 3 to complete her degree. The suit filed in Los Angeles federal court Thursday alleges violation of federal and state civil rights laws, as well as U.S. Department of Education Title 11 rules, which generally prohibits outlaw gender identity discrimination at institutions that accept federal aid. Maxon was using federal-backed student loans to finance her education, and the school is based in Pasadena, California, but offers classes online at Texas Satellite Campus. News of the lawsuit was reported by the Los Angeles Times Thursday, and some religious institutes have requested and received exemptions to the title's non-discrimination rules, but Fuller is not one of them. The plaintiff's attorney, Paul Southwick, said he believes the institution is not eligible for such exemptions because a qualification is that a school must essentially be run by a church, which does not appear to be the case with Fuller. The college said it couldn't comment on the specifics of the case, but emailed this statement. It says, as a historically multi-denominational seminary and convening place for civil dialogue with a commitment to academic freedom, we strive to serve the global Christian church in various perspectives. We remain committed to these relationships and all the complexities while maintaining community standards and a statement of faith that apply to various areas of belief and behavior. Students are informed of explicitly agree to abide by these standards when applying to the institution. Maxon said she was single when she applied to the institution in 2015, but later married her partner. Administrators found out last year through Maxon's 2016 tax return, which was included in her financial aid documentation. When administrators confronted her with their objections, Maxon wrote letters to the School of Theology Dean Marianne May Thompson that said, in part, she had made a financial, emotional, and legal commitment to the person I love, according to the suit. Crazy stuff, man.
dream.
So this article says historians find another spy in the U.S. atomic bomb project. This is from the New York Times. It says the world's first atomic bomb was detonated on July 16, 1945 in the New Mexican desert as a result of a highly secretive effort code named the Manhattan Project, whose nerve center lay nearby in Los Alamos. Just 49 months later, the Soviets detonated a nearly identical device in Central Asia, and Washington's monopoly of nuclear arms abruptly ended. It says how Moscow managed to make such quick progress has long fascinated scientists, federal agents, and historians. It says the work of 3 spies eventually came to light. Now atomic sleuths have found a 4th, Oscar Soborier. Like the other spies worked at wartime, Los Alamos, a remote site ringed by tall fences and armed guards, and Mr. Cyborg nonetheless managed to pass sensitive information about the design of the American weapon to Soviet agent. The spy fled to the Soviet Union. Some years later, the FBI eventually learned of his defection and the espionage, but kept the information secret. It says his role has remained hidden for 70 years. Write Harvey Clear and John Earl Haynes in current issue of the Studies in Intelligence, the CIA's in-house journal. Their article is titled "On the Trail of the 4th Soviet Spy at Los Alamos." In separate interviews, the sleuths say they were still gathering clues regarding the exact character of Mr. Cyborg's atomic thefts. Mr. Clare is an emeritus professor of politics and history at Emory University, and Mr. Haynes is former historian for the Library of Congress. Both have written books on Soviet spies and American communism, often together. Their tale has an eerie resonance at the time when Russian intelligence agencies are again at the center of American life. It says Mr. Soborier was born in New York City in 1921, the youngest child of Jewish immigrants from Poland, according to the study by Mr. Clear and Mr. Haynes in a CIA document they cited. He attended City College of New York, studied electrical engineering, and worked at Los Alamos from 1944 to 1946. In July 1945, the study reported he was part of a unit monitoring seismological effects of the first detonation of the atomic device. His Soviet codename was Godsend, and he came to Los Alamos from a family of spies. In 1951, Mr. Soborier fled the United States with his older brother Stuart, as well as his brother's wife and mother-in-law, and defected to the Soviet Union, where in 1964 he received the Order of the Red Star, a prestigious military award. He died in Moscow in April 2015 under the assumed surname Smith. The study reported that the funeral attendees included an agent of the Russian Internal Security Service. The sleuths were uncovering the story of Godsend even as the decorated spy was being laid to rest. I thought that was pretty interesting. If anyone's watching, I'm posting the news articles in the comments below. I'm streaming live on DLive, YouTube, and Twitch, as well as my personal page on Facebook. You can also call in to the number scrolling across the bottom of the screen. It's 1-408-638-0968 and enter the meeting ID 534-233-4758. And other than that, I'm just reading news articles, finding breaking news, and then listening to music, just kind of hanging out. Again, also, I'm just reminding you guys of this. I covered it earlier in a other video, but there's an E. coli outbreak alert. Do not eat any romaine lettuce from Salinas, California. And this is from the CDC, so keep that in mind. Don't eat any romaine lettuce. So there's a picture of some Russian fighter jets here. And this article says why Putin ordered half of Russia's elite stealth Su-57s into the sky. It says Russia is exhibiting its latest wares. It says back in May, Russian President Vladimir Putin IL-96-300 presidential plane was flanked by no less than 6 Su-57 stealth fighter jets while en route to the 929th Chekhov State Flight Test Center in southwestern Russia. It says of the flight video footage of the flight shows the Su-57 fighters grouped in what better resembles a parade column than an escort formation, suggesting a soft power intent behind Putin's trip. There are several factors at play. First, and perhaps least significant, this footage of 6 functional Su-57s heads of any and all speculation that the 2019 Victory Day Parade air show was called off for any reason other than the Defense Ministry cited weather concerns. Other coverage has focused on political connotations, noting that the Chekhov Center trip took place shortly before Putin's Sochi meeting with Pompeo. While partially convincing, this line of reasoning cannot explain the timing. If Putin wanted to stage a diplomatic show of force, why now not during his prior meetings with President Trump and National Security Advisor John Bolton? After all, Russia's strategic approach vis-a-vis the U.S. and remained largely consistent over the past several years. Rather, the unprecedented decision to utilize 6 of Russia's most advanced 5th-generation fighters, approximately half of the currently available in the roster, in a VIP escort mission, is the latest step in Russia's ongoing Su-57 brand campaign. Unsurprisingly, Putin has repeatedly showered the Su-57 with adulation over the past several years. It was only several months ago that he referred to it as the best fighter in the world. But as high-stakes Su-57's experts talks with Russia, India, and China continue to unfold, Putin is adopting what appears to be an increasingly provocative role in advertising the Su-57s to provocative buyers. Upon his arrival at the Flight Test Center, Putin discussed the merits of the Su-57 with several of his test pilots. One called it a great leap into the future, while others suggested that certain technical details are still being worked out. "We need it to be the best in the world," Putin told pilots, while encouraging them to provide Su-57 engineers with all the relevant feedback that they can. "We are very much counting on you and on your professionalism." As underscored by the interaction, certain technical aspects of the Su-57 are still being worked out. Perhaps the most crucial among them are the fighter's ongoing engine troubles. The Su-57 was designed with powerful Idle-I 30 engines, allowing for 28,000 pounds of dry thrust and 42,000 pounds of afterburning. Why Idle-I 30 was delayed due to engineering setbacks, and pre-production models were equipped with the weaker AL-41F1 engine as temporary stopgap measures. It remains to be seen if the upcoming serial production models include one to be delivered later this year and will ship with the new engine. It says, on the one hand, Putin's heightened personal involvement signals just how heavily invested the Kremlin has become in the Su-57's commercial success, but on the other hand, Putin's willingness to tie his personal reputation to Russia's 5th-generation flagship fighter may speak to his growing confidence on its term viability. If you guys want to check that out, feel free. I put the link in the comments so you guys can check it out if you want to.
With YouTube Music Premium, explore your favorite albums.
So this article is pretty crazy. This Argentinian woman discovers her pet kitten she rescued is actually a puma after a visit to the vet. Said the woman rescued the pet kitten from the street and thought the animal was a normal, healthy house cat until she went to the vet. Look at this cat here. It's cute. It says, talk about a case of feline confusion. A woman in Argentina discovered that the pet kitten she had rescued months earlier was actually a wild animal. When a trip to the veterinarian office didn't go as planned. Explaining how the mix-up went down, Florencia Lobo told Reuters that while in the northwest Argentina province of Tucumán, she and her brother had found two kittens next to a dead adult cat. She said in a quote, "We thought that it was an abandoned cat who had given birth," and she told an outlet, noting that while one of the cats, a female, did not survive, the male, whom named Tito, did. However, although everything seemed to be fine with Tito's health, when she took him to the vet appointment 2 months later, Lobo found out he wasn't actually a house cat after all. That's a cute cat. this came out 2:04 p.m. Eastern time today. It says breaking news: Utah Jazz players and coaches evacuate after a suspicious shoebox was reported near Arena Restaurant just minutes after the end of their game with the Warriors. So it says a bomb-sniffing dog gave positive signal to a suspicious shoebox that was left near a restaurant in the home arena of the NBA's Utah Jazz in Salt Lake City, forcing team officials and the press to quickly evacuate after Friday's game. Minutes after the end of the Jazz victory over the Golden State Warriors at Vivint Smart Home Arena, Utah players, coaches, and reporters were told to quickly head outside because of a suspicious package. Once outside, journalists covering the game were then instructed by security to leave the premises, and players immediately headed for the exits to get in their cars or the Warriors team bus. Jazz center Rudy Gobert was still in his uniform as he left, so here's a video of it here. Not gonna watch the whole thing. Picture of a security guard there. It says Salt Lake City police officer stands guard near the El Chubasco restaurant inside Vivint Smart Home Arena in Salt Lake City after it was evacuated because of a suspicious shoebox late Friday night. There's pictures of people exiting. Wonder if that restaurant's any good. It says according to the Salt Lake Tribune, the package was found near El Chubasco restaurant located inside the arena. El Chubasco is a popular Mexican restaurant that has 3 locations, one in its home base of Park City, Utah, another in Salt Lake City, and a third inside Vivint Smart Home Arena. We were evacuating the Jazz locker room and the entire building due to a suspicious package in Vivint Arena, Salt Lake Tribune journalist Andy Larson tweeted late Friday. Some players didn't shower, everyone was told to leave and get dressed right away, he wrote in another tweet. Calm evacuation so far seems precautionary. Standing in the players' parking lot right now trying to get more info. Larson then reported that security officials in the parking lot were telling the evacuees to clear the premises, and they're pushing everyone from the players' lot, either walking up or driving out, he wrote. So if anyone's just joining in, just listening to music and finding interesting articles, streaming on DLive, Twitch, YouTube, and my personal Facebook page. this is sad news. It says a mother 27 is charged with murder after two daughters aged 1 and 2 died when they were left in a hot car outside their Brisbane home. It says a mother has been charged with murder after two young sisters were pulled from a car in 31C heat. Carrie Ann Conley, 27, is in custody after her daughters aged 1 and 2 were found in a car outside of their home in Logan, south of Brisbane at 1:30 p.m. on Saturday. Paramedics could not revive them, and they were declared dead at the scene. One neighbor told the Carrier Mail that her grandson recalled seeing the children in the car at 6:30 a.m., 7 hours before they were found. Police spoke to Connolly for hours before she was charged with 2 counts of murder late Saturday night. She is due to appear at Brisbane Magistrate Court on Monday. Horrible, man. Not even gonna play that video. I hope that wasn't intentional.
Live in Jordan, streaming free only on YouTube.
So this article says FBI official is under criminal investigation for altering document used to obtain Russian probe surveillance warrant on Trump campaign aide Carter Page during 2016 election. It says a criminal investigation has been opened into an FBI official suspected of altering a document in the warrant application to surveil Trump campaign advisor Carter Page during the 2016 election, according to a new report. It says the alleged document tampering was uncovered during Inspector General Michael Hauserwitz's probe into the origins of Trump-Russia investigation and subsequently referred to U.S. Attorney John Durham for criminal investigation. CNN report on Thursday. It says in October 2016, the FBI sought and was granted a FISA warrant to surveil Page's communications and access all of his stored emails and texts. And to obtain the warrant, the FBI had to convince a judge in secret court that there was a probe cause that Page was a foreign agent. The 90-day warrant was renewed 3 times, but Page has never been charged with any crime. That dude just looks hardcore right there. It says it is unclear which FBI official is under criminal investigation for allegedly tampering with documents in the warrant application, and the names of the supervisory special agent or agents who submitted sworn statements to support the FICE application and renewals were redacted when applications were publicly released. It says the former FBI Director James Comey signed off the FBI evidence in the applications prior to being fired by President Donald Trump in May of 2017. Former FBI Deputy Director Andy McAbee signed off the subsequent renewals. The alleged FBI document tampering is expected to be addressed in Hauserwit's IG report, which is undergoing final classification review. In a letter sent on Thursday to Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Lindsey Graham, Hauserwit said he expected his office to be able to release the report on December 9, barring unforeseen circumstances. Attorney General Bill Barr has pledged to make the report public, only the redactions needed to protect classified national security interest. The report is expected to examine how closely the FBI stuck to the law and rules when it went to a secret foreign intelligence surveillance court beginning in 2016 to obtain authorization to conduct electronic monitoring of Page. The report will also examine how British ex-spy Christopher Steele's dirty dossier became key FBI evidence. The dossier, which was funded by Trump's Democratic political opponents, was cited prominently in the FISA warrants application to surveil Page. Steele's dossier claimed that Page was a secret intermediary to the Russian government and had personally hatched the idea to leak stolen DNC emails during the Democrats' nominating convention. Those claims have never been proven, and Page strenuously denies them. Steele was questioned at length last summer by representatives of the Inspector General's office in connection with the forthcoming report. Page, a one-time foreign policy advisor to Trump's 2016 campaign, recently sued the Justice Department, accusing it of violating his privacy by failing to give him an opportunity to examine the IG report before publication. Durham, the chief federal prosecutor in Connecticut, is conducting a review of whether U.S. spy and law enforcement agencies acted properly when they initiated and pursued investigations of possible ties between Trump and his campaign in Russia. A person familiar with the matter confirmed in late October that Durham's inquiry had become a criminal investigation. Durham has visited Italy as part of his probe, reportedly to try to dig up information on Joseph Misfud, a mysterious Maltese academic. It was Misfud's tip to Trump's presidential campaign advisor George Papadopoulos that Russia had dared on Hillary Clinton, which triggered the FBI investigation into possible Trump campaign ties to Russia. FBI insiders called Misfud a Kremlin agent, but Trump supporters allege that he has ties to Western intelligence, including MI6, and claim he has been a plant to incriminate the Trump campaign. Misfud hasn't been seen publicly for months, but last week an Italian publication received an encrypted file with a voice recording claiming to be Misfud speaking on November 11th. In the recording, the voice denied being an agent of any national intelligence service, inciting he was merely an academic. crazy article here. It says doctors have officially frozen and reanimated a human being for the first time. It says doctors have officially frozen and reanimated a human being for the first time. One of the biggest problems with exploring the furthest reaches of space is the sheer time scale involved. Without a breakthrough in physics that would allow human beings to enter a state of suspended animation or faster than light travel, and it would be possible. He said, but now it looks like doctors have made progress with actually freezing and reviving human beings. And it says Samuel Tischerman, a professor at the University of Maryland School of Medicine, has led a team that actually put a human being into suspended animation, according to the Daily Star. Tischerman told New Scientist that he replaced a human blood with ice-cold saline solution. He called the whole ordeal a little surreal. The patient was then removed from the cooling system and taken to an operating theater for a 2-hour surgical procedure before having their blood restored and their body warmed back up to its normal temperature. Tischerman says he's going to be producing a full account of the procedure in a new scientific paper that will be released in 2020. He aims to pause life long enough to perform emergency surgery rather than use technology for space travel. He recalled the story of a young man who had been stabbed, didn't have enough time to make it to surgery. He was a healthy young man just minutes before. Then suddenly he was dead. We could have saved him if we had had enough time. I want to make clear that we are not trying to send people off to Saturn. We are trying to buy ourselves more time to save lives. But of course, it's only a matter of time until everybody's favorite. I can't keep my nose out of anyone's achievements, and you don't believe me? Ask Vernon Unsworth. Tech entrepreneur will weigh in on the issue, undoubtedly comment on how it could be used for space travel and further his own PR agenda. Tischerman also did not release how many studies took place before this one successful one. The experiment had the blessing of the FDA, who waived the requirement for patient consent, as a patient cannot be saved by any other means. The biggest obstacle remains limiting damage to people as the patient is warmed. Reperfusion injuries. We haven't identified all the causes of reperfusion injuries yet, Tischerman said. So this is crazy. It says a California man robbed at gunpoint after meeting woman on dating app, sheriff's office says. It says a California woman has been arrested after going on a first date with a man who arranged to meet her through an online dating app and was later allegedly robbed at gunpoint by 2 of her male associates, according to the Delray County Sheriff's Office. Shalina Lopez, 31, and one of the men, Mario Gona, 39, was arrested Thursday, the Sheriff's Office said in a news release Friday. The second man, Cesar Domingo Jr., 27, was being sought according to the Sheriff's Office. Lopez lived in Porterville as did Gona and Domingo. The release said the victim arranged to meet Lopez at 2 a.m. Thursday in Porterville through the Meet Me social media site and knew her as Karma. Well, it looks like that's pretty funny. It says he then took her and going into the casino in Porterville where they met Domingo, according to the news release. He was told that Guana, I guess that's the name, was a quote-unquote family member and that Domingo was a friend, authorities said. The victim said they left the casino and while driving back to Porterville, he heard what sounded like 2 gunshots from within or around his vehicle, the news release said. A relative of the woman then threatened him with a gun, authorities said. The victim was told to drive to an AM/PM convenience store in Porterville and withdraw money from the ATM. The victim complied out of fear and gave the money to one of the men who had walked into the store with him, according to the release. Eventually, he dropped them off and was allowed to leave, the news release said. Detectives found some of the stolen property, including cell phones, after they arrested Lopez and Gona, according to the sheriff's office. Be careful meeting people on dating apps, as everybody acts like idiots these days.